Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third edition of the Hanze Talk Show, Teacher's Talk. My name is Santiago Montemiranda, a second year. I was born in Colombia, raised in Aruba. A todos los de habla hispana, bienvenidos. Today, I will be hosting this talk show for you guys, and as many of you may remember, we had two talk shows in the past years, where we talk with our students and alumni about their experience at Hanze, student life in Groningen, exams, internships, and life after graduation. Quite interesting conversations. But going back to the topic of today, because today is the day when we finally put the spotlight on those standing behind all those success stories and amazing study experiences. None other than Hanze teachers and staff members. So going back to this, most of you will remember. Hey guys, it seemed we had some audio issues during the talk show for a couple of seconds, and I'm here to let you know what I was saying. So basically, some of you might remember that we also had teachers in previous talk shows editions, like for example Nancy, Mark, and Chris. And we even got some advice from Mark: be cool and stay at school. So that was it. Relax and enjoy the show. I am really excited to be hosting this talk show today because I was in your position a few years ago, 2 years ago exactly, when I was preparing to come here to start this amazing journey and to come to Hanze and start my education. And now, after 2 years that I'm already here and I'm an international student ambassador and part of the Hanze International Student Team, I'm ready to answer a lot of the questions that you might have. Questions like, how does the educational system work at Hanze? How teachers grade? Are teachers strict? How's the admission process and the enrollment process? All those questions that I also had 2 years ago, today we will be answering those questions to you guys. So before we move on to the actual talk show, when we send the invitation to you guys, we send this form where you were able to ask questions. And today, like I said, we are going to answer those questions. And I want to give a special thank you to Fabiana from Czech Republic, Ines from Portugal, Sebastian from Italy, and all the other people that sent those questions to us. But let us start with this amazing talk show because this introduction was getting too long. So let me introduce you to our first guest, Frank Piri and Dania Fang. Welcome, guys, to the studio today. I'm so happy to have you here. Welcome, Dania. Can you please, how are you? How are you doing today?
I'm actually doing great. Great weather. The studio looks amazing. So I'm really excited to be here, but also a bit nervous. But,
I can understand. I can understand. The weather is amazing. That is true. And how are you, Frank? How are you feeling? By the way, we have Frank online because of we are doing this hybrid situation here. I know COVID, we are used already to having people on online meetings. So we have Frank online. How are you, Frank? How are you feeling?
Absolutely great. Yeah, so no problems here. And I'm very happy to join you online. That's the best option yet, right? So I cannot be there physically, but I can still be there online. So I'm very happy to join you.
Yeah, that is true. That's the amazing thing that we can keep from this 2 hectic years of COVID. That is a possibility to be online with people and reach and be with each other. So before we start with the questions, I would like you to introduce yourselves, to tell us what your position is at Hanze, what do you do here, for how long have you been working here, and what kind of projects you do here. Can you start with that, Frank?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so as already said by Santiago, my name is Frank Piri. So I'm a teacher and a researcher here at the Hanze. And I'm also kind of an idealist. And an idealist always have a very clear mission. And my mission is actually climate change. So one of my main drivers in also my personal life is to make sure that climate change doesn't get worse and that we have a planet for us and our future generations. And this is one of the main drivers that drives me also at the Hanze. So what I actually do at the Hanze is I do research for local communities. I help them in installing renewable energy, understanding the renewable world. How can they make their village more sustainable? What can they do as consumers? And I'm trying to convey this message, but also this knowledge to the students at the Hanze. So that's mainly my focus and what I do at the Hanze.
Great. Very interesting. What about you, Dania? What do you do here?
Yeah, so my name is Danya Feng, and really, again, nice to be here. So what I do, I'm currently an international account manager at the Hanze. Next to that, I am actually also facilitator at the MIC, what we call the MIC, the Master International Communication.
Yeah.
What I do facilitating there is community building sessions. So that's what I do. I hear a long intro from Frank, so that inspired me to tell a bit more. Well, what drives me is actually the students. I really want to help students to make the right decision when they are choosing their studies, because it's, study abroad is a huge life-changing experience. So it's a big decision. So I really want to contribute in helping them to make the right decision. And also when they're here, what inspires me is to be part of their learning journeys. And, it's beautiful to witness, but also just very inspiring to be part of that. So that's my drive.
That's really nice. All right. A great introduction, guys. So I will start with a few questions to Frank. So you're a teacher at different master programs. Could you tell us a little bit more about those masters, what are the masters actually, these masters programs?
Yeah. No problem. So we have multiple masters actually at the Hanze, and we're having. I think I'm talking mostly about the masters in what we call engineering, and that's a school. And I don't know if they already explained a little bit how the structure of the Hanze is. It's quite complex, but we have schools in the Hanze, and every school has its own masters. And we are actually the School of Engineering, and we have currently 3 main masters focused at energy and the energy transition. And the best way actually to explain them is by using a very well-known acronym in sustainability, and that's actually called PASTEL. And PASTEL talks about politics, economics, social, technical, environmental, and legal aspects. And if you want to talk about renewable energy and how to change, for instance, a society to a sustainable society, you have to follow these aspects. You have to deal with these aspects if you go along the route. And our masters are actually covering these aspects. And every master has its own focus. So for instance, we have a technical master that's called EMRA, and EMRA is focused on the technical and environmental side of PASTEL. Then we have a techno-economical master called CSIM, and this master is actually focusing on the techno-economics of the site. And finally, we have the master called Energy for Society, and Energy for Society is a little bit more focused on the social and the political part. And what we find very important is that every master, of course, gets the basics of whole PASTEL, so they understand all of these elements and why they are important. But in every master, we pick 1 or 2 of these elements and we go a little bit more into detail into those.
Okay, wow, very interesting. When you mentioned the word PASTEL, you already took me back to my classes, because I think we also use those models actually during our research, and I got a little bit of nightmares listening to that word. But yeah, it's great. I hear a lot of renewable energy in your description of the masters. And how does Hanze tackle these types of issues? What are the main thing? Because I hear you talking about the pistol, so you look into the political side, the social side, but what exactly are the things that you look at these programs?
So if we look to the EMRA, for instance, we are very interested in improving renewable technology. So how can we make a wind turbine more efficient? Or how can we make sure that it makes less noise? That's one of the things that we are really having problems in the Netherlands, not only that they're very high, but also that they're very noisy. So in the EMRA Master, we're focusing on these technical aspects and how to improve these technologies to make them applicable in the market. Okay. And if we look to the CSIM Master, there we're really looking at, okay, how can we turn these technologies from EMRA into a business case? Unfortunately, in this world, we still have to make a lot of money, or we have to make money to make these renewable technologies also, let's say, available for the market. And in CSIM, we're actually looking at how can we make new business cases where we can implement these renewable technologies and make them work. And then finally, we have the Energy for Society Master, and they are actually really focused on, for instance, a municipality. How do you make this regulation work for this renewable energy? How do you make sure that the right steps are taken for the correct energy type in your village? And how does this process work in policy? And that's what they're looking at there. So from that perspective, every master is actually covering a specific area in this field.
All right. Well, amazing. I think it's really interesting for all our listeners to listen to all these amazing topics. Going into a little bit more of the community at Hanze, because I hear you do a lot of research. I hear a teacher, so it sounds like a community. And going back to you, Dania, a little bit to the community, you're also part, like you mentioned, a part of the MIC. Yeah. How does this work? How does this program master works?
I think Frank actually gave me a really great leeway into this because he's talking about, you can see that he has really his expertise area. And at the MIC, at the Master International Communication, we're the communication people, and what we do is try to package that. And how do we, build this bridge between the experts and the societal issues and challenges that we're dealing with? How do we, bridge that to our audience, to the rest of the actual people in our society. Okay. So community, and this right here shows this community. We work together at Hanze on a broader level. I love this word, engaged university, is where our research and our education is really so tied into the society, the challenges that we're dealing with today. And in there, so you're not only in your community as, your class, your cohort, but you're really, we as a Hanze community, that's something that we should be really proud of, is that there are so many different hubs that we get to work together, professors, researchers, students, and companies, professionals, we are working together. So that's the community. But at the MIC, the community building, what we basically do is, we try to build a safe environment for students to really, really flourish, but not only just to learn from what is, let's say, the visible curriculum, but also, just gain as much as possible out of your student time. And you do that together with community. Everybody has so much to tell. We have so much stories, experiences, expertise, knowledge. How do we really tap into each other's brain and go from there? So. Yeah.
It is quite amazing. I can totally relate to that community experience that you have here at Hanze with teachers, other classmates, and it's quite an amazing experience, and you feel like you belong to the community in an amazing way. And going back to the master's programs, why should students join a master program, in your opinion?
At Hanze, in that sense, I think, again, tying into what I was telling, I think that is really it. The engaged university, and also that in itself, since we're so tied into the community, the society, it does something to our community. We are really here to make impact, and at a master level, students at a master level, I think it's quite unique that you get to just go out there and do internships on a master level as well. And you really notice the difference, obviously, like master compared to bachelor, you're more advanced. The knowledge you gain is more advanced and more specific. But also something there happens to students where we really encourage more student autonomy. They are, I think what I'm trying to say is the experience that you gain as on a master level, but also just able to show the rest of the world.
Yes. Really. I think it's quite an amazing explanation of why people should join the master program. I'm doing my bachelor's and I already want to join. And thanks to your explanation, I'm more excited to continue and join the master after everything. And going to Frank a little bit, I'm in an international class, and we have a lot of international students here at Hanze. We have over 100 nationalities with it, which is quite amazing. How does, in an international class, how do these students tackle this? How do they view this renewable energy in a international environment?
Well, that's actually a very nice question to ask, because what we actually found out in our masters, and we have almost every year we have 10 to 20 nationalities in our masters in a group. And then you can see that every country, but also every inhabitant of the world, has a different view on this. And bringing all these students together in this master and taking this journey together with, well, you said actually teachers, but I don't really like the word teacher. I like to follow this road together with my students, like kind of a coach. And then together you figure out, like, yeah, there are different ways of looking at sustainability and the solutions. And actually, yeah, we learn a lot from each other because of this multicultural background. That makes this well, actually, adding to Dania, this makes it so interesting that you have these multinationals coming to the Netherlands, coming to our masters, and together figuring out how we can solve this big issue that we're actually facing now and into the future from all of these perspectives and all of these countries. It's actually a beautiful process. And one of the things that I always find out is that after the masters, you really have a very tight group. These people spend 1.5, 2 years together on this topic, but also as students living in Groningen. And at the end, they always keep in touch with each other in their professional lives. And they often come back to Groningen again once in so many years, just to have the experience again as a group. Because you create that sense of a group with a common mission and trajectory. So that's really nice to see that develop. Yeah,
it sounds really amazing. I can, of course, like I said, I can relate to the environment with international students, and it's quite an amazing experience to be surrounded by so many cultures. And Frank, why should students join one of these energy masters at Hanze?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. Why should we actually come together at Hanze? Well, I think we already explained a lot why we should actually do this, and that's coming together, thinking about these big issues that we're actually facing in the future. Here at the Hanze, we have a lot of experience with trying to accelerate the energy transition, also in our own area in Groningen, Friesland, Drenthe, the north of the Netherlands. And we can share this information, but also when coming together from other countries, you can share information as students as well. We have created a kind of hub, as Daniel was saying as well, where these students come together, where we share this knowledge, not only from the teachers, but also from other students. And this open way of, what we call applied science, applied research, where we really want to bring our research into society. This is a perfect environment to learn the tools and methods of applying renewability and sustainability also in your countries. So this is a nice environment where you can learn in a very open environment with good practicals and good research that comes together in education as well, to learn the tools and methods that you can use your lifetime.
Wow, sounds really amazing. Thank you so much for all the information, Frank. I'm going back to you, Dania, for a bit. So you were part of the admission process at MIC, or you're still part, you were involved in this process. What can you recommend, or what tips can you give prospective students when applying to this master program?
So I've been working, I think I'm going on my 9th year at Hanze. Oh, wow. So I've been in the admissions for a while. What I would suggest for students who are looking to apply is really, do enough research. Just, read up on it as much as you can, but also at some point do reach out. Everybody here at Hanze is so approachable. You can contact our teachers. You can contact basically anyone. Our students, on our social media, they're always so happy to help. So I think it's definitely, do reach out, because I know some students don't reach out. And when they do, they're always so happy to reach out, because these kind of information you don't really get when you're reading them. Yeah. And it makes a difference to just talk to somebody.
I think that's an amazing tip, and I can also give the same tip. If you ask me, do a research, go into the information, read and contact people. But we have one more question about MIC, and this question comes from Portugal. So I'm going to read the question so we answer the correct question. So it's, what areas can a student apply to after finishing the master, and does the master have practical curricular units?
Okay, so I will tackle the second part first. I mean, all the masters, all of our, our university, we use the problem-based learning. So basically, everything is practical. Everything is, it's basically trying to, help students to use their knowledge that they're learning and adapt that right into real life cases, and that's the best way to basically retention of knowledge, I would say. So everything is practical at the MIC. We train students in 4 communication professional roles. Each of our blocks are divided into focusing on one of these roles. And they work on a project that is very practical. So from the start they work for clients together with the international group, and then they get their information, or let's say tools, what we call, from theory classes and skill training classes. And then hopefully they have enough tools to work for this client. So that's on the practical side. So everything is practical. And then again, in the third semester, we have the internship semester. Students usually go out, and they are really all over the world at this point. They're very driven students, I have to say. So the first part of the question was what area? I don't struggle to answer this, but just because our students are literally in all kinds of industries, really, they are amazing students, but they also really know what they want. And like I said before, Hanze is about making impact, and these students really leave our university looking to make impact. So they kind of create this little, sometimes even, they create this little, not little, but job for themselves, So coming back to the question, in general, of course, students end up in communication field, like online communications, crisis communication, you name it. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like a really broad industry, and have a lot of options that they can tackle. Well, thank you so much, both of you, Frank and Dania. I know, Frank, you have to go to a lecture, give a lecture soon, so we let you, this is basically the finish of the interview with you guys. Thank you so much for joining us today in the studio and for sharing your experience and your information. And I will see you around, of course, in the office. And Frank, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having us.
It was a pleasure. Thank you as well.
Thank you.
All right. And to the audience, we are going to have a small break. During the break, you can still put your questions in the live chat, and we will get back to you afterwards. All right. So we will have a small break, and stay tuned.
Welcome to Zernike campus, the home of many top-rated programs at the Hanze University of Applied Sciences. I'm Kay Putri, a third-year international business student from Indonesia, and I will guide you through the campus. So the bus stop over here is the first thing you'll see when you're traveling by the public transport, and then when you walk a little bit over here, we have a little Albert Heijn in here, and you can grab some snack or food before your first lectures. This is the Willem Alexander Sports Centrum, where you'll be most likely to take classes in this building if you take sports studies and management. This building is equipped by swimming pool, basketball hall, and also the gym. Right over there is the indoor bike storage, where you can store your bike during winter. So this is the Van Doren Veste building, where you'll be most likely to take classes in here if you take courses in international communication, game design, and mechanical engineering. When arriving at the Zernike campus, it's very hard to miss the Walk of Fame. The name down here is the name of Hanze alum who made significant achievement after graduating. After the Walk of Fame, we are finally arriving at the flagship building at the Zernike campus, the Van Osteren building. You are most likely to take classes in this building if you take course in international communication and international business. So that brings us to the end of the tour, and if you decide to join Hanze, we will see you next year.
All right, welcome back. So we had really interesting talks with master teachers, but now we also have a quite big portfolio for international bachelor's programs here at Hanze. And today we're going to talk with teachers from international communication and creative media and game technologies. So let's start with this second part of the talk show today. And one of the approaches here at Hanze is to work in projects. It is really important to work with each other and have like skills to work in a teamwork. I can give my own experience in that. It's quite challenging sometimes, but today we are going to approach also some questions about that. So let me just welcome our next guest to the studio, and we have Francesca Romanoli and Nick Lumatalale. I hope I pronounced the names correctly.
Yes, fine.
welcome to the studio. Francesca, how are you? How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you. Kind of nervous because, as a teacher, normally I am the one asking questions.
I can imagine.
But yeah, looking forward for this. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. How are you, Nick? How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, but also a bit nervous, I must say.
I can totally understand. Before we start with the questions, will you be able to introduce yourself? What is your role at Hanze? For how long have you been working here, and what type of courses do you teach? Can you start, Francesca?
Yeah, sure. Well, I am a lecturer in the program in the Bachelor of International Communication, and I cover different roles. So I'm a project coach, seminar teacher, academic counselor, internship supervisor,
Wow.
graduation assessor. So I do a bit of everything. Yeah.
This sounds amazing. What about you, Nick?
Yes, I'm a senior lecturer at the CMGT for professional skills, 21st century, and I'm also the study advisor. I'm part of the admissions committee of the CMI. And I lecture mostly in year one, but also for the minor Future of Technology and Society, and also graduation like you.
Oh, wow. Well, sounds really interesting. We have enough people with enough experience here to talk today with us. And going back to the student educational approach here at Hanze, you mentioned that you are a project coach. How does that work? What does it entail?
Yes, well, this is the University of Applied Sciences, so we want students to apply what they learn. So we have real companies as project clients, and our students work in small teams. We actually use the agile method for project management. And then our role is not to teach, but to facilitate their work, and that is the role of a project coach.
Oh, wow, sounds really amazing. Yeah, I can definitely say that projects are a big part of the education here at Hanze, and it's really nice that we have teachers like Francesca to help us throughout this process of working with others, because especially in an international class like international communication, you have so many different cultures and so many different backgrounds that sometimes it can be a little bit challenging. So it's really nice that we have that support from the teachers, and we get this question a lot from prospective students, and I also had it 2 years ago. Are teachers here at Hanze strict? What do you think about that, Francesca?
No, I can speak for my program. I wouldn't say that teachers are strict or lenient. I would say that we do have high standards, and we fully support students to meet them. We do hear that we have high standards also from our own students that go in Erasmus and come back, and they're like, we really get here high quality education, but we are also very supportive. Also, if I can say something more, we spend a lot of time in what we call calibration. So this is basically talking to each other and making sure that the way I assess your work is the same way that another colleague would assess it. So you don't have any teacher who has a strict, the reputation of being a strict teacher. Fairness is taken very seriously here.
Oh, and what do you think about this being strict?
Yes, if we talk about strict, I think the deadlines are strict, yes. But when it comes down to education, we do a lot about feedback, giving feedback, not only from teachers, but also peers, giving themselves feedback, of course. That's a big part of our program as well. Actually, in year one, per block, we have 2 courses, which one of the courses is projects. It's 10 EC, so that's a lot.
Wow, yeah.
So the students must put a lot of effort in working together already from the first block.
Wow.
So yes, that can be challenging.
Yes, I can totally imagine, especially for 10 credits. That sounds like a lot of responsibility to get all those credits. So Francesca, you were mentioning that you work basically with students from the first year till graduation.
Yeah.
And it's quite some years with a lot of events going on and a lot of things that happen in our personal lives as students. Where do you see the growth in the students?
Well, we see the growth, I would say, already from year one, because one of our core subject is intercultural communication, and we make sure that we have multicultural class groups, and we do have a multicultural teaching staff. So students, again, it's not just about reading a book and learning. They really have the chance to meet diversity and develop their intercultural competence. And also, they have to go abroad. So with the internship and graduation, they have the option to go for a semester as a study abroad. Last but not least, we really ask them to reflect on their self-development, not just as professional, but as global citizens. So we really see a beautiful personal growth in the 4 years.
Oh, wow, that sounds really amazing. What about you, Nick? Where do you experience the growth in your students?
We try to monitor the growth already from year one as well. Actually, this year, the start of the new program, we incorporate the development portfolio. So, which means they have to give evidence on the classes, about the classes, what they've learned and how they progressed. And a lot of students, find it difficult, of course. But I think the nice thing is that multiple teachers will look at the development portfolio, and then of course we also calibrate, and hopefully the student then will go on and pass. Of course.
Yeah, the development portfolios are quite challenging because you have to reflect on yourself, and sometimes it's not the easiest thing to do, but it's great that then there's where you see the growth of the students, so it's quite amazing. So Nick, you're also part of the admission committee. What would you recommend prospective students for the application process?
Yeah, before you apply, make sure you get the correct information. Of course, visit the website, but also try to attend the online sessions if they are scheduled to like a taster day or a online open day. That's really important because you have to make a choice, and the choice is for the next 4 years of your life. And so it's really important to make sure you know everything, or you are informed really well. Yeah.
Yes, especially because I think I hear the name games technology in the program.
Yes.
And I have some friends that I know that joined this program, and I always thought like game technologies. So are you just playing games?
No.
So it's really important to get to know your program before you apply, right?
Yes, and of course it is about using game technology to come up with solutions, but it's not only about games, and it's not about playing games in general, but it's also about research. Yes, user experience research. It's a build-up, of course, because in year 4, when you graduate, then you have to do it all on your own.
Yes,
so
exactly.
It's a lot of research as well.
It's quite important to get to know the program, and a lot of prospective students ask, is it easy to get in?
Easy. I think what they mean is, do you need to submit a portfolio or a motivational letter? No, it's not, but you have to meet the general requirements, of course. Okay. There's a certain level of speaking English, secondary high education, of course. And we have an additional requirement, and that's it's a MPT survey. It's a kind of test that shows your attitude towards study behavior.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, we have this question from Fabiana from Czech Republic, and she wanted to know, what does the entry exam entails?
Oh, that's basically the additional requirement. Yes.
Exactly.
So there's not really an exam, but it's a personality test.
Okay.
We don't have like a fixed amount of students that can enter, but we do ask to do this test. Okay. And mostly it's okay, of course. But if you think we should have an extra interview, then we'll set it up.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Amazing. So, Fiona, you have the answer to your question here. And we also have a question from Italy for you, Francesca, from Sebastian. And the question is, how can the teachers help the projects that are outside the curriculum?
The projects that are outside the curriculum, I wonder exactly what he means. So if it's about extracurricular activity, Well, the Hanze really provides a lot of option, just in the sense that we host a student association, for instance. So teachers are always very approachable and actually even proactive in letting the students know which are the options at the Hanze. So I would say there's plenty of opportunity here.
Wow. Well, I have one last question for you, for both of you.
Yeah.
And what advice will you give the prospective students when they're doing their research about what to study here? Maybe start with Francesca.
Yeah. I would say the Hanze is really supportive, and we have many services to support students in every step, even the onboarding. So even for prospective students, that is not obvious because not everywhere, not in every country in the world, universities are so well equipped. Mm. So my tip for prospective students is really browse the website, and if you see an email address, if you see any opportunity, tester day, just take that opportunity, and you can be sure if you send an email, you will get a personalized answer really quickly.
Oh, that's amazing. What about you, Nick?
Yes, and I think also if you think you must choose for instance, CMGT, make sure to look at the planning as well, yes, because there are deadlines, but also you have to move to the Netherlands. Of course, we have the international office that can help you with that to provide information, but make sure that you start on time.
Yes.
That's basically the most important thing.
Yeah, that is very, very true. Thank you so much to both of you for all your information and for being here with us in the studio. I wish you a really nice weekend because we have amazing weather, which is not really common here. So enjoy up the weekend, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So we will be coming back in a few minutes. We will have a small break, and then we will start with the last part of this talk show.
Hi, I'm Gabriella. I'm from Bulgaria and I'm a third-year graphic design student. Today, I'm going to show you around the Academy Minerva. Welcome to our main hall. This is where we have some of our lecturers and guest lecturers from all over the world. Plastic workshop at Minerva has all the facilities for your next school project, such as vacuum forming, molding, and polishing. One of our most popular workshops here at Minerva is the wood workshop. Here you can find tools such as drill press, planer, and a bandsaw. This is one of the print workshops where students come to work on their projects, and you can see some of the works on the walls. Welcome to the rooftop terrace of Minerva. This is a great place for people to hang out with their friends or soak up some sun during the summer months. This concludes our tour today. If you decide to study in Minerva, we'll see each other next year. Bye!
Right, so we are back, ladies and gentlemen, with the last part of the last round of conversations of this talk show. And this is the time where we're going to focus on the different supports that you can get here at Hanze as a student. And I would like to start with my own experience here because, like I mentioned at the beginning, I'm one of the international student ambassadors, and I'm also part of the Hanze International Student Team, meaning that I'm in various activities involving prospective students, such as open days, campus tours. I'm also doing webinars and doing many other activities to help prospective students throughout their journey to get here to Hanze. Like I said at the beginning, 2 years ago, I was in your position. So I know a lot of those mixed feelings that you have, a lot of those questions that you have. So I'm always and I feel so happy to be part of all these activities and share my experience and help you in any way that I can. But going back to the guests, two guests that we'll have for this round, we have here in studio with me, Corinne, and my colleague, student ambassador, Anna. Welcome. How are you, Corinne? How are you doing today?
I'm very fine, thank you.
Thank you for being here. How are you, Anna?
I'm good, thank you. Quite excited about representing students today.
That's great. I can totally relate to representing students here today. This part of the talk show is a little bit different to the others because we have a pre-recorded interview that we did with Casper. Sadly, he wasn't able to be here with us today on studio, but we had this opportunity to talk with him in advance, and we have this pre-recorded interview. But let's go back to the people that we have here, the two of you, Anna and Corinne. And Corinne, would you like to introduce yourself? What do you do here at Hanze? Where do you work?
Well, I'm Corinne. I work at the international office with the immigration team. And I'm dealing mostly with non-European students who need a residence permit to study here or a visa to enter the country. And in the Netherlands, it's only institutions who can arrange visas for students. So that's what I help them with. I'm also dealing with insurances, like I help them if they have difficulties with an insurance or if they have any questions about it. Practical matters, that's what we are here for. Yep.
All right. So so you work in the international office. So you and your colleagues together, you approach these issues or these things that students need when coming in advance. Do you have any tips for them on how to prepare in advance for all these processes that you're going to help them with?
As soon as they have been accepted, we send them information about what to do, and they can always ask us if they need more advice. And we also tell them about websites which are very useful, how to prepare. Like there's a website like Study in Holland, which is very, very important, I think, because it's very important to prepare. Exactly. Because it can be very different to start your studies here. And we help them through the whole process for immigration and till they are here. And when they are here, we also are always there to help them with all kinds of things. Yeah.
So I know from the international office, one of the aspects that you help students with or provide information is housing.
Correct.
And this is something that we are always focusing on during the open days and during the webinars and everything where we share information with you guys, because it's really important that you start looking for accommodation in advance. It is quite hard to find accommodation, so please look at the tips that we provide you at our website and make sure that you start looking for accommodation in advance, because I think you can agree.
Very important. Yes, very important.
Housing
because it's very sad to see when students arrive and they think, well, I can arrange something upon arrival.
Yes.
And then there's nothing and they feel desperate. It's like then they move from couch to couch with their belongings. They cannot focus on their studies. And in the beginning, you really need to focus on your studies. Well, you get behind very easily.
Yes.
So, start looking far in advance and really take it serious to look for accommodation.
Yes. Because also you will be abroad, you will be somewhere else, somewhere new for you. So if you have this place that you can call home, where you can go every day after classes, it's really important.
Absolutely.
So I think
correct.
Go to the website and look at the tips. Don't forget to do that. Yes, exactly. So we are going to the pre-recorded area right now, the pre-recorded part of this interview, where we talk with Casper about the student support team here at Hanze University. And sadly, like I said, he wasn't able to be with us on studio today because of other things, but we had the chance to talk with him. And here is the interview with Casper. Hi everyone, welcome to this part of the talk show. Today we are here with Casper. We're going to do this part today because sadly he's not able to be with us on the 22nd. And hi Casper, thank you for being here. Can you please introduce yourself and tell us what you do here at Hanze?
Sure. So my name is Casper Kruijpel. I'm a student counselor here at Hanze University. What does a student counselor do? Well, I think it's important to understand for students that we are placed outside of study programs, so we're not part of any study program. And this is so we can help students effectively, but also confidentially. So if a student has personal issues within the study program, medical issues, financial issues, anything that interferes with you being able to study effectively, it might be a good idea to come to a student counselor. And from there out, we can see what can help you the best. I'm part of Hanze Student Support, and Hanze Student Support consists of student counselors such as myself, student psychologists, but we also have an offer of online and offline courses on a variety of topics which can help you study.
Oh, great. So what's like a day-to-day in the Hanze Student Support?
Yeah, as a student counselor, I usually see 4 or 5 students per day. You can make an appointment and then you're just booked in, and the topics that I discuss are very varied. Sometimes there are people who have like a chronic disease who need special facilities. An example of this is, extra time for your examinations or the ability to stand up during examinations because of a medical issue, something concrete. Sometimes it's about problems within the study program, sometimes it's about family issues, and sometimes it's about mental health care, that a person is not feeling too well and notices that this is affecting his or her ability to study.
Yeah, of course, it's really important as students to keep a balance of all these different things. A lot of people don't realize how important it is to keep yourself also in line, the personal aspects. A lot of people think it's just focusing on studying and doing the best and academic, but then forget a little bit about the personal leadership and make sure that you are there 100%. So a lot of people don't really realize those aspects. And sometimes they're also a little bit afraid to approach other people to talk about those aspects that are hard to talk about. How can they approach the Hanze student support, or what are some tips that you can give them to approach this?
It's a good question. There's no single answer. I mean, obviously, you're always free to call us or send an email through the website. We have hanze.nl/HSS, Hanze Student Support. That's the easiest way to go there. Usually, the normal route is that whenever you feel that there are issues which are affecting your study, that you first go to your academic advisor. And it kind of depends on your study program what this is called. Sometimes it's called a coach, sometimes it's called a student coach, but you will probably know who this person is. And depending on that conversation, if you're unsure of what your problems are, he or she will advise you to go to Hanze Student Support, and you can go to our website, call, make an appointment. You can also find us here in ZP7 and physically make an appointment. So that's usual route. Yeah.
All right, nice. And do you have any tips for students, some things that they can identify already in themselves that they can say like, okay, this is an issue? Do you have some tips on that area?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think in general, it really depends, because some students start their study where there are already personal or medical issues, and in that particular case, I would definitely recommend contacting us as soon as possible and to see what kind of effect this has on your particular study program and what options there are, because it's completely normal that you have no idea what the options are. So you first need to know what the options are. And with regards of checking yourself regularly, hardship is a part of life. It's normal to feel stressed out. It's normal to have bad days. I think most people know this, but if you notice that you kind of lose the joy in the things you used to enjoy, you start to see less people, academically you're not performing as well as you should, then it might be a good idea to undertake action. And what you do, you really have to find something that suits you. For one person, it's very easy to go directly to Hanze Student Support first, but some people might want to talk to a friend first or a family member. But my main advice is take it seriously and just start talking, because the main thing that I encounter is people who have been silent about this for too long. And the longer you don't address it, the bigger the problem becomes and the harder it is to solve.
Yes, I think also a lot of students don't really realize it, because it's really common that you hear, during your study years you will have a lot of pressure, you have a lot of things to do, so you will be stressed, you will be even sometimes have a little bit of anxiety. So a lot of people maybe see it as something normal, but I think it's good that you sit down and analyze it and see like, okay, maybe this is out of the normal scope of these type of feelings, so let me find some help. But also it's difficult because we have a lot of internationals here at Hanze. In some parts, in some countries, this is still a taboo. A lot of people don't really go for, especially for the mental health part, it's really hard for some cultures or some people from different countries to approach the situation. How is this handled in the Netherlands? How is this approach to mental health here?
It's quite different. You might say that most, this is generalized, most Dutch students are quite open about the fact that they can have mental health care problems. We are also aware that in some countries there are cultural taboos, or where seeing a psychologist is synonymous with being crazy. So this is a personal journey. I think this is also in part of what I just said, is just start confiding in somebody, you know. Talking about your problems does not mean that there is a huge problem. It means that you can start addressing whatever is happening. So we are aware of this, and in the Netherlands we are more open, and this can also backfire. You know, if you're talking with Dutch students and they're extremely open about all these personal matters, it can also have the opposite effect that you're like, oh my God, you know, this is too much for me. So find somebody who you feel comfortable with. You don't have to tell everything all at once. You can just start by, hey, you know, I haven't been feeling too well lately, and just go from there. Nobody is forcing you to tell the whole story and all the details.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think those are really good tips and really important tips for every student, not only internationals, but also for Dutch students. I think everyone who's watching this will get a lot of tips on how to deal with these situations that we all go through. But thank you so much, Casper, for your time and for introducing us to Hanze Student Support and how to approach them. And now we're going back in time to the studio on the 22nd, and we're going to continue with the talk show there. All right. Thank you, Casper.
Sure. No problem.
And we are back to the current day here in studio with Corinne, and we are going to continue with this conversation here with the two of you. And I know the following months are going to be really stressful at your office with your colleagues, because this is the time when all the international students start sending all their information. So do you have any advice for the prospective students regarding the visa?
Yes, we're going to send them all kinds of information by email, and they need to read it so that they are prepared. They need to prepare as well a lot of money, which needs to be transferred onto our account. Because in the Netherlands, the students cannot arrange their own visas. It's everything arranged by institutions. Okay. So also need to realize that if they're coming here, that they think, I'm going to earn back my money. No way. Finding a job is very, very hard. So that's something they need to realize as well. And if they want to work, they need a work visa. But we are there to help them. But one important thing is start preparing yourself. Read the information we send, and then everything will be fine. And they're free to always ask, and we're very welcome to answer.
Well, you already know. Read good the emails. Sometimes we tend to just screen through the emails, but it's really important that you go through all the information. You're going to a new country, so make sure that you have everything they're asking you for. So go good through those emails. And now going back to students, we have a student here with us, Anna, one of my colleagues, another international student ambassador. Welcome once again to the studio, Anna. And can you tell us, like, really in a nutshell, what the international student team does?
Yes, of course. Once again, thank you, Santiago, for having me here. I'm really glad to represent the students and the Hanze International Student Team. And I guess if we look at the core task, we're just trying to make the application, the relocation, and the adaptation to the life here in Groningen for all our prospective and current students much easier and much more smooth, just by offering our own support, sharing our experiences, and answering all the questions that they might have. So essentially, since, as you said before, we were all in the same shoes, we went through the same steps, we had same concerns and worries, we are here to really help all the students and ease their concerns and guide them through their journey to Hanze.
Yeah, that is very true. Thank you for that. How was your experience when you were a prospective student? How was your experience with students ambassadors, and how do you feel before coming here to Hanze?
Well, actually, I just want to take a moment to say that I'm very grateful for the Hanze International Student Team, because they really did a lot for me when I was still applying to Hanze. And I mean, my application process started in 2020 when the pandemic was still in full swing. Mm-hmm. And there was so much more uncertainty than usual. But just in general, you're moving to a different country, going to study in a different environment. So to ease my concerns beforehand, I tried to follow follow as many Hanze events as was possible. And there, all the student ambassadors were always present, and they were sharing their experiences and all insider information that we can't find on the website or in a booklet anywhere. And they answered questions, and just with them there, it was so much easier to see my way throughout the Hanze, how my journey would look like. I was sure what I was getting into, and I felt more confident in myself, I guess, because I saw the people who walked the same path before me, and I knew that, well, if they made it, then I can try as well. Yeah. And apart from that, what was really heartwarming for me is that I participated in some call sessions with the student ambassadors, and it gave the whole experience a more personalized touch because we could just talk, and I could ask all the questions, and I felt that Hanze really does care about their new students. So I felt really welcome.
Wow, that's amazing experience that you had, and I can totally relate to that. I think it's amazing the support that we receive as students, prospective students in the past, and now as current students here at Hanze, and it's quite amazing. And going a little bit to the international office, have you been in contact with Corinne or her colleagues in the international office?
Yes, actually, of course, as all students, we go through contacts before we start studying. And I also wanted to relate to Corinne's story a little bit, because indeed, you should really be in contact with the international office as often as possible. Just if you respond promptly and regularly to their emails, if you have a good overview of what practical matters you still need to take care of, then the whole process will go very smoothly for you. And even throughout your studies, you can also be in contact with the international office. So for example, right now I'm in my second year, but I'm planning my semester abroad for year 3. So I'm also contacting the international office team and arranging everything regarding the additional documents, the insurance, etc. So they're very approachable people, very helpful. So if you have any questions, never hesitate to ask. Thanks.
Yes. Well, thank you so much to both of you, Corinne and Anna, for being here in studio with us. Thank you for all the information and for answering all our questions. I'm pretty sure all the audience are really happy to have all this information from you guys. Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for the invitation, and have a wonderful weekend too.
Thank you.
We're very happy to be here.
Great. So today we had a lot of conversations here in studio, and we provide a lot of information to you guys. So I'm going to recap a little bit what we talk about. So with Dania and Frank, we talk about the renewable energy and how Hanze tackles this issue in their programs. Also, we talk about the master programs and how the admission process at those programs works. Then we had Francesca and Nick, and we talk about if teachers are strict or not. We talk about also the admission process for the bachelor's programs and how the educational approach is here at Hanze. And at the end, we had Corinne, Anna, and Casper, the pre-recorded interview where we presented to you guys all the support that Hanze provides to us as students, all the support from the international office, the student support team, and what we do here in the Hanze International Student Team. So it's quite a lot of information. I hope you had your notepad on the side and took some notes of everything that we said, because it's quite important. And of course, this talk show will be available for you, and if you want to rewatch it later on and just to go through those tips again. So thank you so much for joining us today, for being part of this experience with us. If you have any other questions, please make sure to send them to the phone number that you can see on the screen, or just to the Hanze International Student Team email, and we will get back to you. Thank you and have a wonderful weekend.